So, welcome everybody. This is Rainer Wendt speaking, the host of the European Business Analysis Day. And today we have in our webinar series a very special guest, and I'm proud to present Adrian Reed, a good old friend from Great Britain, from England. We have met several times. We have exchanged ideas on business analysis. And I really appreciate to have Adrian here with his let's say, deep going ideas and with his initiatives to selling the value of business analysis. So let me give some comments before I give over to you. Selling or sales, I think this is a very important element in business analysis, because you want other people to buy something from you. They are not directly paying, but they need to buy your ideas, your concepts, and everything. And that's why every business analyst is kind of little salesman. And this is what I think. And yes, the stage is yours, Adrian. Welcome to this webinar, and go ahead.
Okay, so I think, well, yeah, I mean, thank you very much, Rainer. My understanding was this is a conversation and you were going to ask me questions. So is that not the case? Because we agreed some questions in advance. I don't have a presentation, so I've completely misunderstood if you're expecting me to present.
That's absolutely true. We are going into this. Probably you can introduce yourself a little bit before we start the questions.
Okay, yeah. So I'm Adrian Reed, principal consultant at Blackmetric and BA enthusiast. But you know, I'm sure people don't want to know about me. They want to get into the topic.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. So the discussion, this Afterwork Talks is a format where we, of course, not going through slides. We are asking questions, we are discussing, and what I always think I have already started with this is what is the problem, let's say, or what is the challenge if BAs, business analysts, are in companies and they need to be recognized. They need to be, let's say, identified in their role. What are you thinking about this?
Yeah, I think that I think that's a really good point, Rainer, and a really good place to start. And I think that it's not so much, in my experience, recognition of the role that's an issue. I mean, that is an issue. But what is more important than it being a particular role is actually recognition of the value that business analysis brings. Because it doesn't really matter, or to me, it doesn't really matter whether the title is business analyst or something different. That's, to me, secondary importance. I mean, there's value in the identity of being called a business analyst, but what's more important is people get the value of business analysis. And I think that what I find sometimes is that, you know, the folks that are, you know, dialed into this call, the people who are watching the recording, we all know the value that good business analysis can bring, right? You know, we've seen it, we know it. We know that if there's business analysis involved early, then we can help understand problems. We can avoid that situations where people just choose a solution without thinking about the problem, and then wonder why what they deliver, you know, what's delivered isn't, you know, doesn't meet their needs. So that we, you know, you and I know that there's huge value in that, but it's like we've got all this value, but actually people don't always understand that value. So I think what I often talk about is there's a perception gap in the value that we know we can bring, and the, you know, and people's understanding of what business analysis is. And so what I think is always really interesting is to explore with people why that perception gap exists. And, you know, some of the things I sometimes hear is, you know, things like, oh, but, you know, when there's a business analyst, it's like analysis paralysis, and you slow us down, or, well, we don't need a BA because we already know what we want, or, or the vendor says that it's lift and drop, or, whatever it happens to be. And I think what I've come to really think about is the fact that if people don't see the value in business analysis, then that's actually on us as a community to show the value. And if we can't show the value, then arguably we don't really deserve a place at the table, And I think what it's about in short is like framing what we do, showing the value of what we do, but aligning that to things that they care about. And showing what we do and aligning it to things that they care about is so important. And when you think about, well, taking a product or service like business analysis, framing it in a way that customers care about, that is sales. Like, that's literally a form of selling. And so that's why I'm very interested in combining techniques from sales and selling with business analysis to, to essentially make sure we can promote and sell what we do as well as BAs internally, internally to our stakeholders.
Yeah, that's very true. So what I was thinking about listening to you is, if it comes to selling, and if it comes to expectations of the, let's say, customers or the stakeholders, then they want to hold something in their hands. So I'm talking about deliverables. So
yes,
what do you think about deliverables? Let's say, what is the BA producing? What is the product of a BA he or she can sell?
It's again brilliant question, Rainer, and such a I'm really pleased that that's something we can discuss, because I think that it's true. Deliverables are important, but what's even more important is the contribution that we make to something bigger. And if I think about like, if we're really honest, and this is sometimes controversial, but like does an executive or even a manager, do they want a user story? Do they want a requirements document? Do they want, acceptance criteria? Well, maybe, but what they really want is they want that as a means to get delivered valuable change. And, a kind of an analogy I often use is, I remember a few years ago being in a hospital, visiting a relative who had had a minor accident, had fallen over, had a broken bone, and in the UK, in our health system, they seem to have the uniforms. They wear different color uniforms. So an orthopedic registrar who looks after bones and things will wear a certain color, and then a radiologist who takes X-rays. And all these people are coming and going and sort of like doing things to the patient. And all of those deliverables are important, like an X-ray or an ECG, and all of the, as a visiting relative, I sort of care about all of those things. But what I really want is a fixed patient, a fixed relative, someone who's better. So I think that sometimes, and I'm guilty of this, but I think it's worth considering. Sometimes it's worth thinking not just about the deliverable, but how those deliverables contribute towards the end goal that the stakeholders want. And the reason I say that this is important is because you think about a typical project, program, product, whatever, there are actually different, this is the thing that I think is sometimes missed, is there are different outcomes, right? Because the executive, the sponsor, they probably just want return on investment, right? I mean, they'll want some other things, but like return on investment is going to be high on their list. So, time to value is going to be really important to them. Let's get something out that can get those benefits released and then incrementally build on it. But if you're a user, you might never see the balance sheet. What you want is a convenient experience and something that doesn't get in your way. So in many ways, I think understanding that there are different sets of needs and different sets of outcomes is really important. And yes, the deliverables are important, and we that we have to produce those, but it's almost like these deliverables are a means to producing these better outcomes. And I find the better the better I understand the outcomes the stakeholders are trying to achieve, the easier I can convince them, because I'm tuned into what they're wanting.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but let me ask some critical questions. So
Yes.
From your nature as a BA, you want to be a kind of accelerator. You want
Yes.
to accelerate things. You want to shorten time to market, things like that. You want to be beneficiary. But this is your view on your role. But probably other people have their view on your role. And it could be that the questions you are asking, because a BA always asks questions. And other people could think, hey, this guy is always asking questions. And some of the questions are really uncomfortable. And
Yes.
probably if this guy wouldn't ask that many questions, we would go faster. So, meaning what you are selling needs to accelerate things, not only in your view, but as well in the view of the customer. And so my provocative question now is, could it be that in some situations people think that you as a BA slow down the processes by asking too many questions?
Yes, I think you're right. I think you're right. And I think that sometimes, I've found that, I mean, it's that old cliche, but credibility comes through delivery.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I find is that if you can get something tangible, and this is actually where I'm at risk of contradicting myself, because I said that outcomes are more important than deliverables, and I think that's true. But for example, this is where I find things like prototyping very useful, because okay, you might believe we're slowing you down, but let me put a prototype of what we've just discussed in front of you. And and it turns out that actually we've got a difference of opinion amongst all these people. Okay, great. Well, isn't it good that we spotted this on paper? Because if we'd have spotted this when it had been developed, that would have slowed us down. So I think it's, for me, about illustrating through actions, through tangible actions,
Make
that
it clearer.
what,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that we can make it clearer. And actually, yes, the questions do take time. But it's that old thing of, if you don't find, if you don't find the time to do it properly, you're going to have to find the time to do it twice.
Yeah, so I've experienced this. Last time I was sitting with a couple of really let's say heavyweight network analysts, and these network people, you know, the people who know everything about networks, firewalls, IP addresses, and everything. So it's a really very special know-how, and I appreciate their know-how. It's going much deeper than my know-how. But what I sensed is that there were some people, security people, analysts, and other people at the table, and there was not a kind of common goal atmosphere in the room. There were some let's say vectors which were pointing in different directions. You know what I mean? And then
Yes.
I started with a very simple thing. I said, "Hey guys, I have created a mural board, and please, here's the address of the mural board, and please do me a favor. I've created a little mind map. Here are firewalls, there are IP addresses, here security, there are certificates. Go to your area, the area where you feel most comfortable, and write down your ideas as a big mind map." And then suddenly, all the people said, "Hey, that's fun." Huh? And there was a kind of aha effect. And
Yeah.
after an hour or so, it was a half-day workshop. After an hour, the people were completely in collaboration mode. There were no, let's say, bad feelings in the room. They were just working on towards one goal, and that was fascinating because I was not the most knowledgeable guy in the room, but I was the facilitator, giving them the right, let's say, impulse to do things.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant example, Rainer, and you know, it really resonates with me, and I suspect, you know, the others on the call, you will have had this, right, where actually we don't need to know as much detail as the subject matter experts, because, you know, I'm not a subject matter expert, but the key is to be able to ask the right questions and know when to probe and know when, you know, and know when to ask different people for their opinions. And it, you know, it reminds me of, you see, it's interesting. I think a lot of the literature, a lot of the textbooks would tell us that we should search for a consensus, you know, that we should get all these different perspectives of users and the exec and customers, and we should seek consensus. And that's a brilliant thing to do, right? Consensus is the best outcome you can possibly achieve. But if you're doing anything that is major or transformational, consensus is not, like, there are going to be some times where consensus is impossible, right? Where, like, you know, imagine a situation where perhaps a department is being closed and there are redundancies, but that, like, it's unlikely that all the people affected by those redundancies are going to be in favor of that change, you know. But so I think sometimes that, you know, there's another term which is an accommodation. You know, rather than a consensus, you get an accommodation, which is everyone's perspective is taken into account. And if you can't get a consensus, at least reach a situation where everyone can at least live with it, or at least understands it, and, you know, and has been treated with respect and ethics and dignity. And I think for large scale transformation, that's important, because there will sometimes be, you know, completely conflicting perspectives, and that's hard. But that's one of the areas where we add value as business analysts. And this comes back to selling the value of business analysis. Is it's, you know, you know, an executive or a sponsor might have their view on how, you know, a change should be progressed. But one of the things we can do is actually help make that happen, because, you know, you hear about a strategy execution gap. Well, one of the enablers to plug that strategy execution gap is good quality business analysis at a strategic level and at an operational level. And, you know, that's an area where we can add so much value. But getting in that space requires us to sell, to, you know, to convince them. Hence the sort of focus on selling.
Yeah. If I have several parties in the room, let's say two conflicting parties, and a BA, then the question is, I would be very interested in how are you dealing with this. So you are the BA and you are paid by one of these parties. You are on payroll, meaning there is a conflict. From your nature, you are a free thinker. You want to do the best you can achieve. But now the question is, the best for whom? Meaning,
Yes.
If you are paid by one of the parties, are you automatically in this party, member of this party, or are you still trying to be in this neutral position of a facilitator and a moderator?
I mean, I think you have to be the neutral facilitator, but this is where it's much harder, in my view, if you are earlier in your career as a BA.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Rainer, you and I and probably some others have probably been doing this for long enough that if we're doing a particular piece of work for a client, we're happy to have those awkward conversations. And if for me, if a client asks me to do something that I think is unethical, I'll just walk away, because I'd rather be able to sleep at night and know that I've stuck to my ethical compass. But when you're earlier in your career, it's harder, because it's actually, to be able to do that, to be able to walk away, is actually a privilege. We're in a privileged position to be able to do that. So I think if there is a middle ground where someone can say, well, okay, the person that is the sponsor is insisting on this form of action. I believe that isn't taking into account these other perspectives. I'm going to make sure that the sponsor has at least heard those other perspectives and has made as informed a decision as they can, having heard those perspectives. And what that becomes is, rather than like engagement or participation, it's consultation, right? Where the sponsor is asking for opinions, listening to them, and then saying, and that can be valid. A sponsor says, I'm going to get everyone's opinions, but the decision is still mine. And as long as everyone's happy with that, or as long as that's the approach, then that is inevitable in, you look outside of organizations into life generally. Like, imagine something small in a town or a municipality, like a local government situation, where, imagine adding like speed bumps to a road or a stop sign or whatever is, that's the sort of thing that, if you had to get agreement from every motorist, you'd never get it. So it's certainly in the UK, our local councils or municipalities do is they consult, right? They propose to put some speed bumps, they put a notice up, and they get the views, and they read those views, and then an elected person makes a decision. So there can be legitimate ways of exercising power that don't require engagement and participation. But for me, the role of the BA is to ensure that is transparent. It's about saying, this is how the decision was made, and the views were represented, even if the decision maker decided not to take those into account.
Yeah, so that's yeah, it's a kind of, sometimes as well, democracy, or things which are coming out of a group of people where the majority is reflected. Decisions where the majority is reflected, and of course there's always a minority, probably people who don't want to have this or to do this, but they just need to be, let's say, to be fine with the system, where they can live with decisions which are not their own.
Yeah, and there are situations where you just need an authoritative. You just need someone to make a decision quickly. And and an example I've used before, and it's not a realistic example, but it's like, if we were all in a physical room, and someone comes in dressed in a high visibility jacket, wearing breathing apparatus, and they say, "There's a fire. This way is blocked. Use that stairway. Get out the building now." Right? That is not a time to have a focus group and get everyone's views. Like, that's a time to just do what the person who's done the research says. And there can be times like that in organizations too, where someone's realized there's an opportunity or a threat, or there's a regulation change. It's like, look, we just need to do this now. Now's not the time. Now's not the time to have a focus group. That's that sort of thing.
Yeah. Take a cyber attack. A cyber attack would be let's say, an example which is, let's say, equivalent to a fire, kind of.
Or a data breach, but I mean, cyber attacks are really, really good example. And this is another area, by the way, where I think we can sell business analysis, because there's increasing interest, or there should be increasing interest. There isn't always in cyber resilience. And you look at the world stage and the climate in the world. It's like, there's not going to be fewer cyber threats in the future. It's going to increase. and we're relying more and more on integrated infrastructure. And it's an area where a good BA can ask questions, make sure that the proper cyber and information security professionals are involved, and avoid those situations where somebody's doing it with an Excel macro, which might have a vulnerability or whatever. So there are all sorts of sort of angles with that as well.
Simply rules and principles and guidelines which you need to let's say always have at your hands as a BA. It's not always about new ideas. It's as well about behaving as necessary and meaning not to use vulnerable Excel macros and things like that. But I want to close this loop a bit because we were coming from a discussion where we said, okay, where's the balance? Where is this top where benefit probably moves into breaking things down, slowing things down. So one you or probably a couple of other stakeholders, they think, yeah, he's doing business analysis, he's moderating, he's facilitating, and other people think then, oh, he's asking so many questions that he is slowing down. So meaning you as a BA, you have to have this empathy to see that several stakeholders are in the room, and you have to bring this benefit to all of the stakeholders, even in a conflict situation, and this is why I asked this question before, even that you are obviously in one of the parties, even that you should bring the benefit to the people of the other party by leading a fair and informed discussion.
That's right, and I think what I've found is that actually, even if there's a group of stakeholders who don't get what they want, if the process has been fair, they might not like it, but they feel far better about it than if they feel the process isn't fair.
Yeah.
And what a fair process is, that's very context dependent. But what I would say is general about it is it's transparent. What I find people quite rightly really, really dislike is when nobody knows who made the decision, nobody knows when the decision was made, and it's like a metaphorical black box. So if we can, if we can shed light on those things, then that's a way that we can really add value, even to those who might not be completely aligned with the outcome.
Yeah. So what I've experienced in such a conflict discussion, I've experienced that people were back channeling, meaning they were using chat channels which were behind the conference which we had. So let's say you have 4 or 5 people, and 2 or 3 of the people are using another chat channel, and they're exchanging arguments, or they are even joking around and making let's say another hidden level in the discussion. This is non-transparency, and I'm really, normally you should always keep the form, but I was really annoyed by this, and I picked the people and I said, hey, you are communicating with other people. It's hidden to us. Why are you doing this? Come and put your stuff on the table so that we can see what you are doing. Adrian, the things we are discussing are not from the Babok.
That's true. Well, yeah. Well, usually if you try hard enough, you can map to one of the underlying skills in BA BOK. But you raise a really good point, which is that I always think a well-rounded BA, like the stuff in BA BOK is fundamental and it's important, and but a well-rounded BA like the BA book it's the starting point rather than the end point.
Yeah.
And, much in the same way as, I know I've got a couple of good friends and colleagues who know far more about cybersecurity than I will ever know, because that's the areas that they're practicing business analysis in. So they've got the core BA book and they've got all sorts of cybersecurity knowledge. And I think, you learn, you learn and adapt as we all do, right? Lifelong learning. That's one thing that I truly, truly believe in.
Yeah. But okay. The BA book or BABOK is a kind of socket. It's a foundation. And yes. I totally agree that every serious BA should know what is in the BABOK. Some probably only to a certain extent. Some people need to know it inside out, like me as a trainer, because I'm asked a lot of let's say questions which are going deep into the details. Why is this connected, and why do you need this input for that output? And so you have to have this matrix in your mind, which is really complex, but mostly you can somehow explain it as an experienced trainer. But what my next question goes to is, where can people get in touch? I mean, we are doing it now. We are doing a forum now, probably on YouTube. But where can they get such a background, such a deep know-how? So I know that you are dealing with a lot of deep-going articles with friends and colleagues and network people. So where can they find such situations we are just discussing right now?
So could you just rephrase the question, Rainer? I'm not sure I fully caught that.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about a collection of know-how which goes beyond the BABOK. For example, what you are doing in the last I think 2 or 3 years is you are collecting information and you are presenting information, which is completely fantastic, I think. Maybe you can explain a bit about this.
Yeah. So I think I think there are many ways of continuing to assimilate information, make these connections. Of course, the conference that you run, Rainer, is a fantastic way of hearing from different perspectives, and people should definitely take a look at the European BA Day and check that out, along with podcasts like this. But yeah, I think one of the things you're referring to there is BA Digest, which of course you wrote a fantastic article for in the Q2 edition, which is about enterprise architecture and business analysis.
Thank you very much.
And BA Digest is a quarterly PDF magazine, and it's completely free. You don't even have to register. I mean, I always hope you will join the mailing list so you get it in your mailbox, but you don't have to. You can just go view it online or download it as a PDF, share it. But one of the driving purposes of that was to create a platform, an open access platform, which is truly free at the point of delivery. And by truly free, I mean, because a lot of people say, oh, but if you made people put their email address in, and I'm like, no, but it's not free then, because people are paying with their data. So I'd rather people look at it, and if they like it, then they can choose to subscribe. But a platform that's completely free at the point of delivery, which allows anyone from anywhere in the world to put forward an idea for an article. And one of my real enthusiasms is around inclusion and folks who maybe wouldn't feel comfortable publishing elsewhere, and actually providing some support and guidance. And of course, clearly there are very experienced people with articles, such as you, but there are people who are maybe junior BAs, and I always say you don't have to be a professional writer. I don't know what a professional writer is, but you just need to have an idea, And so yeah, that's one of my side projects, which I'm really enthusiastic about, because I think the more platforms we can have as a community, like BA Digest, like European BA Day, which enables us to get the intersection of different ideas. Yeah, that for me is really exciting. And if anyone doesn't know about BA Digest, if you just go to badigest.link, so all one word, badigest.link, you'll find all of the downloads there.
Yeah, so I have observed when you were starting with this, and I found it, and I find it still fantastic that there are no obstacles. You can just go there and access it, and the quality is quite high. So if I go to let's say go to Google and or ChatGPT or whatever sources I have, and put some questions into it, then I will get some useful information and a lot of not so useful information.
Yes.
And if I read the BA Digest, there is no not useful information. It's full of brilliant information, and this is exactly what I like, because I can read the BA Digest, and I always know, okay, there is high quality stuff into it, and this is probably something which we are after as well. So meaning with the European BA Day, with the Business Analysis Day, which we had 4 times in Frankfurt now, meaning on premise, and now the 5th time is virtual for different reasons. We don't have a kind of call for speakers process where everybody can simply throw in what they want. Most of the speeches and most of the speakers are handpicked. So we are like you. We are going to the authors, to the speakers, and we are discussing with them. And then a theme or a topic comes up, and then we are say, okay, that's brilliant. Let's put this into a speech. And of course, it's a combination. Some people are coming to us and asking to speak on the conference, but mostly it's a kind of handpick. And coming back, why are we doing this virtual this time? So you know that Alexander, who is busy today with another webinar, he's one of the guys living in the Ukraine, and he's from Kiev. And Yuria, I don't know where you are living actually, in which town, but you are from the Ukraine as well. And what we see, unfortunately, with this special situation, is that people sometimes have difficulties to travel. It's another obstacle, and we are using these modern formats like we are doing today, and we open up for everybody to participate, even if the people are from India, if they don't have the finances to go for this journey, or if they cannot travel for other reasons, like men in the Ukraine. I suppose that this is difficult if you want to travel. And so this is the reason why we are doing it now virtually. So we are opening it much more to the international community, despite the fact that we were the only conference in Germany until now, which has used only English language, because most of the German conferences they are still speaking German there, and so we all know that this is quite restricted if a conference is in German. And now that we are all speaking English, that's much better. Yes, and coming back to how can BAs, business analysts, or people who do business analysis, I always like to say this, how can they improve their skills? And yes, they can go to the foundation, read the BABOK, probably get certified, get a CBAP or something, but probably even more important afterwards, they need to continue learning. They shouldn't stop with the BABOK. They should go to the BA Digest, they should participate in the European BA Day, and they should discuss with other people and as well with other roles. So what you've pointed out is my article between enterprise architects and business analysts. So I could take so much benefit from my discussions which I have with architects, because architects are other people than BAs a little bit, and the discussions with other roles, they bring so much reflection to my own role that I can improve.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that getting outside of our box, getting outside of our silos is really, really important, and I agree wholeheartedly. I think continually learning, continually growing is so important. Definitely.
Yeah, so that's really a nice session which we have today. So I'm just checking what we could else do. Our topic at the BA Day, where you are speaking as well, is artificial intelligence. Adrian, let me ask you one thing. Are you using ChatGPT or his friends in your work, in your daily work?
Yeah, and I mean it's interesting because my presentation at European BA Day is one that isn't specifically about AI, but is about selling business analysis, which is but is potentially even more important so it's not about AI, but it's potentially even more important when people think that the work can be done with AI. So but in direct answer to your question, do I use ChatGPT and ChatGPT's friends? Yes. Just this morning, I had a quick meeting with a client, and I dictated, like I'd taken a few notes, very, very rough, but rather than type them up, I dictated them, and the tool I use even created a summary, and that was that, right? I've used image creation tools as well to create stock images to put in places, and summarization tools as well. But the thing I will add is I'm always very conscious and careful about the T's and C's and the privacy, and I would never use tools. You've got to be careful, right? We all know that even if it's a public AI, then you probably don't want to put anything controversial or secret or intellectual property in there. So there are different use cases I find for different things. But even though, like, I use a dictation and summary tool, which is private, it's a subscription-based thing. But even then, if it was a confidential meeting, I would not dictate my notes into it because it's I don't trust it that much.
Yeah, that's remarkable, but absolutely, I'm absolutely fine with these thoughts. But many people nowadays, probably not experts like you and like the audience we usually have here, but I'm talking about the general public. So the general public, they more and more develop a kind of natural trust into the digital systems. So I remember when WhatsApp started to become, let's say, a commodity service, then suddenly everybody was fine with it. A year before or 2 years before, many people said, "Okay, no, I'm not using WhatsApp." So and I've heard this is taken over or owned by Facebook, and I'm using Threema, or I'm using this one, and this is too dangerous. And then there was a kind of social development. I would really say social development, that if you are not using WhatsApp, then you are currently, or you are suddenly excluded. You are not getting information of private groups, or let's say some people meeting in the free time, and then you had an inner fight. Do I give my data into WhatsApp, or do I lose social benefits at meeting with friends? And I'm observing it in the last years, more and more the level goes down, meaning the skepticism against digital data spiders, collectors, is going down. People are simply trusting it because they say, "Oh, well, they know anyhow what I'm doing because we are anyhow completely, let's say, transparent and like glass people. Everybody can know everything. It's easy." What do you think about it? I find it remarkable that you say you won't dictate stuff into a special software because it can be captured somewhere.
But that is only particularly sensitive or controversial things. But then to me, that's no different to me saying I wouldn't put a controversial document onto a cloud service if I didn't know where that cloud service was hosted, right? Because and in actual fact, there's data protection laws which should prevent that from happening in an organizational setting, right? I mean, we have a slightly different GDPR, but aligned with GDPR law here in the UK, and actually, if that was hosted in China, then China probably hasn't got GDPR equivalents, for example, right? But if you're dictating this into a tool that is hosted somewhere, right? So I'm not saying I wouldn't use it. I'm saying I look carefully at the T's and C's, but for controversial or sensitive stuff, I'm more careful. And I'll give you another example. This is not work related, but I downloaded an app which can create like an avatar, like an electronic version of your face. And in order to do that, you needed to upload 10 photos of your face from different angles. Now, probably no one doing that reads the T's and C's. So what you could be signing away a license for them to use that. As far as you know, they could probably get bio data from you. They could create a deep fake of you. Now, I'm sure they won't, right? I'm sure that's not what's happening. I'm not like some tin hat conspiracy theorist. But what I'm saying is, it's like in the same way as if you get a text message. I don't know if this happens in other countries, but in the UK, you get a text message saying, "Oh, we tried to deliver a parcel, but you weren't in. There's a redelivery fee," right? You just take a few minutes to think, was I expecting a parcel? Could there be something sinister here? Right. And I think we need to have that level of measured skepticism with services, particularly AI services that are free, where it's like, okay, but if I'm not paying with money and I'm uploading 10 photos and they're creating a digital avatar of me, what am I paying with? Or how is the business model working? And that's really where I'm at, Rainer, it's that pragmatic, measured, balanced skepticism and caution, because it's a bit like the Wild West at the moment. And that's exciting because there's innovation. So I don't think it's bad. Innovation is good. But if you've got a startup that's created something that isn't necessarily thinking about cybersecurity of their assets, then there's just the potential with particularly sensitive things for problems. So it's that element of it.
Yeah, I mean, if they have 10 photos of your face from different angles, then they can for sure use this as a key to crack your iPhone.
Yeah, right, exactly. Exactly, yeah. Or for like facial recognition or with CCTV. I mean, not that I particularly care about that, but so that it's I think we need, it comes back to that ethics and what could the unintended consequences be. And I think that's with AI generally is there are huge benefits, but there are the potential for disbenefits for some folks. And I think it's that balanced pragmatic approach is, I think is an area, again, another area where BAs ask the right questions or can ask the right questions.
Yeah.
Who might be if we use AI for this, who might be excluded? are we okay with them being excluded? If we're not, how can we use AI in a way that's inclusive, ethical, and transparent?
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know, and also what regulations and so on might we breach?
yes. So what I feel here is that that artificial intelligence brings us a higher degree of ethical responsibility. So
Yes.
we are there to inform other people about the traps AI can have. And as I said, what I have observed in the last years is that there is this decreasing sensitivity regarding security. And I think that we are the people, meaning the analyst people, we are the people we have to put together the pros and the cons and the traps, so and the risks, so that people are more thinking about it. They are not just consuming it. They need to sit.
Yeah.
As you said before, if there is an email coming saying something about a parcel, and if I'm not thinking, I'm just clicking on some links. But if I start to think, then have I ordered something? Is there a probability that this message is genuine? It's right. And this is only a very small example, but it can become much more complex if you think about data security. If you think about why did I get let's say a denial from an organization, things like that, and suddenly there are circumstances or relationships which come to the surface, which were impossible 20 years ago, and this is really something we have to put our finger on, because we are responsible for it.
Exactly, and I think, you know, for every legitimate use case, there's probably 10 or more misuse cases.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the valuable thing is to identify the use case and the misuse cases, so that the misuse cases can be prioritized and mitigated. But then again, it's interesting because that sort of comes back to cybersecurity and understanding different threat vectors and attack vectors and so on. So I think you know, all of these topics, that they're different, but there are areas where they overlap. And you know, AI is, you know, AI is, it's not like AI is coming. Of course, AI is here and is growing and is going to be here. So it's another area where we have to be at the forefront of asking those questions, and as you say, understanding those ethical imperatives is so important.
Yeah. This is something I was really thinking recently. The more I got busy with AI, the more I feel this responsibility, because there are so many people who are not thinking through. You have to coach them for the new world, because the world is developing faster than many of the people living on this world. This is a paradox situation here.
And technology, I mean, certainly in the UK, technological innovation always tends to lead legislative innovation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So legislation and regulation is legislating and regulating technology from years ago, right? And legislation takes years to catch up.
Yeah.
So, you know, people might think, well, you know, the regulator will protect me. And there are some like, you know, actually the regulation in the UK and in Europe is good. Like, we have good, solid regulation, but it can't keep up with the speed of innovation yet. That's the challenge for the next few decades, is for legislative agility. But that would be the topic for a whole nother podcast, Rainer.
Yeah, absolutely. But anyhow, what we have worked out in this Afterwork talk is that that AI and cybersecurity and ethics, they are kind of interwingled. They are not, they cannot be separated from each other. It needs a holistic approach, because
Yes.
whenever you talk about AI, you are completely in the, let's say, in the difficulties and in the challenges of cybersecurity immediately.
Yeah,
So,
and I think that word holistic is so important, and I think that's a really good place, you know, for us to summarize it. Really, it's about that holistic approach. It's not just about the technology; it's about the people, the data, the information, that, you know, everything, and taking that step back to really understand it.
yes, and coming back to the title, or the theme which we had today, if you want to sell something today, nowadays, you always need to sell as well that the solution is secure, that that there is, let's say, not a big risk coming with solutions, and big risks are. If I'm talking about big risks, I'm talking about your data.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, so we are just in time, GIT, just in time. 7 p.m. my time. I think we all have different time zones here, but only slightly different, not like Japan or something. And I really would like to thank you for this discussion, especially Adrian. I would like to thank you for the people sitting with us, and I can encourage you, please contact us, please take part in other formats like this, and go to, can you repeat it, badigest.link, is it the right address?
Yes, yeah, that's right, badigest.link.
Yes, and read this fantastic magazine Adrian and Black Matrix Solutions is publishing. And yes, finally, come to our conference at May 16, to our virtual conference. We have still tickets sales, and the tickets are quite affordable, I would say. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening, and thank you for your contributions.
Thank you very much, Rainer. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.